All right, Ezra 5, let's call this one Structure and subtitle it The Archives, because they are going to go to the royal archives of Persia to answer this dispute between the people of Israel, who have now resettled the land of Israel, and the people of the land who were occupying it during the 70 years they were gone. And so early on in the chapter, like we're saying, there is a continued dispute between the people because in spite of the temporary injunction, we would say under our current language, issued by Artaxerxes in the last chapter, the people of God are going to go on and build on the word of the prophets. It says, go ahead and build. Don't worry about them. And so they're going to continue to do that, but that is going to raise the ire or the resistance of the people of the land again, who are going to write to the king again after trying to ask them, who are your leaders and who gave you a decree to go ahead and continue working on this? And they're going to be like, whatever, we're the people of God. God told us to build, so we're building. And sometimes that can seem extra churchy, but they're going to have a strong foundation in Persian law, because what's going to happen is after the people of the land ask them for a decree, they're going to be kind of like, I'm glad you asked. And within the letter that the people of the land write to the king, they are actually going to do a fair job of summarizing the response from Israel's leaders when they say, these people told us that, one, they were the people of God who lost this land because they sinned against God, but because of a decree from Cyrus the king, they had gotten permission to begin rebuilding, and that is why they are doing what they are doing now. Ultimately, this chapter is going to be more of a cliffhanger than we are used to seeing in our sets of 7 chapters, because they're not going to get a clear answer, but it is going to end up with a decree or a request from the people of the land to go ahead and search the archives. Because it's almost as if they're kind of curious as to what they say as well. And more importantly, it caused me to think of a number of things. First and foremost, going back to some things we had observed about the Persians and the ways in which God seems to have set Israel up to succeed under Persian rule, because the Persians seem to have a consistent value for the law and consulting the royal records and the archives for what actually happened, as opposed to simply going on rumor and innuendo. And so when the people of the land raise a complaint based on rumor and innuendo, if they understand that they are under the rule of people who are still going to base their decision on law, even the people of the land realize at some point their path to victory is going to have to go through the royal archives. And so instead of being evasive and losing credibility by trying to avoid the inevitable, they simply ask the king to go ahead and search the royal archives, which also reminds me of why the answer from the leaders of Israel seems to be so wise. Going back to a verse from Proverbs chapter 15, verse 28, that says, the heart of the righteous ponders how to answer, but the mouth of the wicked pours out evil. Understanding that when they were asked a simple question, they gave a simple and direct answer. And that stood out to me in this era of clickbait, where it's so easy to click on a link that's advertising one thing, only to have them ramble on at length, hopefully not condemning myself, before getting to the point. And so because it seems so difficult to simply find a link that advertises one thing and then actually delivers that, I am impressed with the credibility of sites and content producers that actually deliver what it is they're advertising in the form of either a link or a product, because it seems so rare to get that nowadays. And so when we see the leaders of Israel taking the opportunity to understand the question and answer it clearly and concisely, they are also enhancing their own credibility before the king of Persia, who's now also the king of Babylon. Understanding that in the next chapter, we're going to see yet another king finally make a decision on the case, and his decision is ultimately going to have a lot to do with the way that Cyrus had the foresight to take his good intentions and write them down as a legal proclamation that is going to eventually carry more weight than the temporary injunction that had stopped Israel's progress up to this point. And beyond that, he gave them a provision that is now going to provide the evidence that, okay, wait a minute, if these people weren't supposed to rebuild this temple, why do they have all this gold and silver and expensive stuff just to sit outside in temporary shelters? All of which really reminded me of the prophet Hosea, who said in Hosea 4, verse 6, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And at this point, the people of Israel are not being destroyed for a lack of knowledge. They are actually being saved by, in addition to their prayers to God for help, answering in a way that allows them to take advantage of the existing legal structures at work in Persia, which reminded me of times in which we might pray to God for answers that he has already given in the form of laws and policies he has already designed to give us relief. And so my prayer for you is my prayer for me. To the degree that we are praying to God, may we also pray for the wisdom and the insight to understand the ways in which he has already provided answers for us in laws and policies that might already exist, even if we're simply unaware of them.